Our problem is the GCF of 75 and x equals 15 and the LCM of 75 and x equals 225. We are trying to find x. So the first thing we want to do is to make a Venn diagram. And we want to label it with all the information we already know. So we know that the two numbers are 75 and x, and we know that the GCF equals 15 and the LCM equals 225. So we are going to label one of our circles 75 and the other x. And since we know that the GCF is 15, we're going to put the GCF in the middle. And we know that the number that goes in the blue circle and the number that goes in the red circle and the 15 all have to equal 225, which is the LCM. So we're going to try to find the number that goes in the red circle first. And what we're going to do is divide 225, our LCM, by 75, which is the number that we already know. And we get that the answer is 3. So this 3 is going to go in our red circle. And we can simply multiply 15 times 3 in order to get our x, which equals 45. Now that seems really simple, so we want to make sure that x is really 45. So in order to do that, we're going to have to find out what belongs in the blue circle and then factor out 75 and 45 and get the GCF again and get the LCM again to see if they match up to 15 and 225. So in order for us to get the blue circle, we're going to do the same thing we did when we divided 75 by 225. We're going to do 45 by 225. So 225 divided by 45 equals 5. So that goes in our blue circle. And if we multiply multiply 5 by 15 by 3, we are going to get that it is 225. But we're going to check it the other way. We're going to factor out 75 and 45 to see if we get 15 and 225. So 75, 45. We're trying to get the prime factorization. So this would be 15 and 5. 15 can be factored out again to be 3 and 5. 45 would be 9 and 5. And 9 can be factored out again to be 3 and 3. Our prime factorization of both numbers would be all the numbers you cannot factor out anymore. So the numbers that I'm circling. So our prime factorization of 75 would be 3 times 5 times 5. And our prime factorization of 45 would be 3 times 3 times 5. So remember, for us to get our GCF, we have to find out what the 75 and 45 have in common when we do the prime factorization. So we can see that they have both a 3 in common and they both have a 5 in common. So we would write that down only once. So 1, 3, because they both have it in common, and 1 5 because they both have it in common. And that would equal 15. So going back to our problem, we know that the 15 is correct in the GCF because it told us the GCF of 75 and x, which we know is 45, equals 15. So this is right. Now let's see if our LCM is correct of 75 and 45. So to find the LCM, you would write down it all has to equal 225. So we would know that a combination of 75 and 45 using the prime factorization all has to equal 225. So we would do 3 times 5 times 5. All of this right here equals 75. Okay. So we also know that this has to multiply out to equal 45. So what do we have in common? We have 1 3 and we have 1 5. Right there and right here we have 1 5. So then what are we missing? We're missing a 3. So if we do 3 times 5 equals 45, and 75, if we do 3 times 5 times 5 equals 75. If we multiply all that out, we're going to get 225, which is our LCM. And we know that's correct. LCM equals 225. So that's how we know that x equals 45 is correct.